Hello. I know everyone out there is having a wonderful day, as I am. This video, we're going to talk about education and a little bit on how to educate, but mostly on the education system as it is and how it's not healthy at all for children. And just to get right into it, it's plainly obvious. When you look at the education system, kids are uh, supposed to start school at about 5, kindergarten. If they go to preschool, they're going to start even earlier, of course, a year or so, maybe even daycare before that, depending on the situation of the family itself, which I'll talk about that as I go along here, because obviously we're all in our own circumstances and we cannot all do what we think is best right away. So I'll talk about that at the end as well. So with our education system starting so early, and for some as early as 2 or so, depending on daycare. Sometimes it depends on the daycare. Some of them, I mean, even earlier, uh, the child is away from the family, the mother, which is the most important, is in the early development of childhood. For if they're going to daycare, it's going to depend on the parent's schedule. So 8 hours, 9 hours or so a day. But when you start school, it's the same. It's going to be 9 hours. Kindergarten's only half of that, so that's going to be 4 hours. For 4.5 hours probably after everything's said and done. And for a child at that age to be away from you that long, that's very detrimental to their development and relationship with you as parents. That doesn't mean that you should feel bad if that is what you are doing, because like I said, we are all in our own situations and we can't beat ourselves up when we decide that we want to do something different and we come into new information. Because beating yourself up is always the worst thing you can do, because you're going to end up in an even worse place mentally, because you're not doing what you know you should be doing, and that's okay, because it's all about making changes to get to where you actually want and desire to be. And that being so detrimental to our children's development and our relationship with them, it starts to create a separation of where they're not going to speak to us in such an open way as they would otherwise. And then you go into first grade, and that's 1 year later. Now they're probably 6, 7, and they're gone all day. They're gone for 8, 9 hours about total, all day long, gone at school. Most kids, I would say, probably take the bus, so they're gone even longer from their parents because of that bus ride. And it's so much. There's a reason why kids don't want to go to school, especially at that early age. They don't want to leave you because there's such an attachment to you, and it's emotional, it's physical, it's spiritual. There's such an attachment to you as parents at that young age, and placing them in someone else's care, in someone else's education system, is very detrimental to their development with you and as an individual, because it's going to introvert them. They're going to have to figure out for themselves then, like, how do I cope with these things? So they're going to start hiding things. They're going to start And when I say hide things, I don't mean in a necessarily negative way, but more emotionally, they're going to start hiding things, which is going to impact just their outward relationship with anyone in general on who they trust, who they um, don't trust. Some kids are going to go one way and seek attention. Some kids may go the other way and be quiet. I was a quiet kid myself. I was completely silent for the most part and didn't want to talk to many people when I was at school. Um, that's just how I coped with it. That's just how I was when I was little. Not that I knew what was really going on or whatnot, but I definitely did not want to go, which is what most kids. That's how most kids feel about school. They don't want to go. It doesn't start until later that kids actually get like want to go there because they get accustomed to it. They get used to it. They have friends there, um, and they get more comfortable with it doing that. It's still, you have to realize you're sending them to this school system that has this education set up for them on you need to learn these things and these things and these things, and we're going to teach you in this way. And a lot of it, most of it, is completely useless to most individuals. There are absolutely basics that we can grasp out of there, but these are simple things that can be learned on just a normal child development of curiosity, because children naturally are curious of the things around them, and there's plenty of things around us that utilize these basic mathematics and grammar, English language, reading. These are basic skills, and once you grasp these basic skills, you can go in any direction with them. Science is not a basic skill. Not at all. Not everyone needs to know these different sciences because there's a whole different reason why they're teaching us that. It's not because we need it. Most of us don't know most of what we learned in science because it was useless. And you can say that for most of these things when you get later in the education system, they're useless to most of us. Unless we went into some career field that is utilizing that, fine. But that could have been done regardless with the child's curiosity. Because that development would have been more focused on what they actually want to pursue for themselves, and they would have more leeway to try different things out and figure out exactly what they want to pursue, what they don't want to pursue, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. And the school system really puts you in a direction of you need to go and do these types of things, which focus more on logical aspects of things instead of creative and artistic. Art in general, especially in public schools, is pushed to the corner. They don't they don't put art in a forefront for being a career path for kids. And it has to do with getting people thinking in certain ways. This is the whole point of the education system with how it's given. It has to do with getting people thinking in a certain way to feed the society so that the society keeps running the way that it is and that there's always enough workers to go around for this system. Because truly our children are the ones that can and will change something. They're going to be. Because it's them that can choose what they want to do, but we also as parents need to give them that opportunity. And if we're sending them away for that long, they're already having an emotional struggle with inside themselves for us doing that, and then there's this just distrust that builds. And you can't look at this as a negative thing. It's just what is happening because they're actually at school longer than they're with you, awake. They're sleeping they're sleeping longer than they're actually interacting with you. They're at school longer than they're actually interacting with you. The weekend does not count. The weekend does not help to facilitate and rebuild that growth, because there's a lot of other things that kids are doing in normal situations that the parents aren't really involved even in general, even when they are around them. A lot of times the parents are doing their own thing and they put distractions in front of their kids to entertain them so that the parents can do what they're doing, which I'm not going to get into here. That I will make a separate video on. And with the education system, it's not necessary in the way that it's set up. Not at all, because parents have the ability to teach their kids everything that they need to know. And what the parent doesn't know, the parent can go and get, because they have that know-how of how to go and find something and show it to the child and walk them through it, teach them, because the parents are the teachers. Teachers at school are just teaching a curriculum based on what they're given, and it's very strict. I know teachers. It's very strict on what they can teach and how they have to follow it. And it's gotten stricter more recently even. And it's a bunch of nonsense for the most part that's being given to our children. And I don't want to get too much into the education system with how it is, because I can go on for a while about it and the different intricacies of it, but that's not what I want to do here. They are at school from K through 12 at least. Then a lot of them go to college. There's just this. It creates an individuality through separation of the parents. It doesn't allow the parents to really have a bond with the children, which is another reason why there ends up being so much turmoil in families and houses, and up and down, and arguments, and all of these things, because there's psychological traumas that have happened, and the child ends up kind of wanting to be like their parent then because of it. And it doesn't allow us as parents to raise a true independent individual and allowing them to choose and guide them towards what they're actually interested in. That's what parenting is really all about. To be the guide. What would you like to do? How many parents actually ask their kids that at a young age? What would you like to do? What would you like to do today? How many parents can ask their kids that at a young age during the day and actually follow through with that and do that for them? Present that to them. Help them learn something new that they're interested in and set them down that path. And at a very young age, children, one, don't know math. Children will be way ahead of any kid in school. I will promise you that. Based on their own curiosity of things around. You don't need workbooks and these type of things to teach kids that. It's simple. These are simple things. Kids pick up on them quickly when you just tell them. It's that simple. Kids pick up on stuff quickly when you just tell them and explain fully. They'll pick up reading very, very early. And that is one tool that they can then use and you can use with them to help facilitate an even faster growth in whatever they're interested in, because then you can get different books that they can look at what their interests are. If they're interested, maybe they are interested in science, okay. Let's see what sciences there are out there. What could this child do? What could be possible for them to be interested in, and show that to them, present it to them, and then go through with them what each scientist does. Or maybe they're interested in math. There are I want to say litany, but there's a huge amount of things that mathematics can help you with. All kinds of different things. Um, from building things to designing to engineering to simpler things. And if a child is interested in that, feed that. Feed their curiosity, whatever it may be. If a child is more into artistic things, well, maybe we should be looking at more artistic things with them. Maybe we should be going over the different types of things that they could do artistically. Because, again, that's really the biggest area and the most untapped area is artists. Artists. Artist, it's a lost craft. Artists is it's the backbone of society. Artists are what put everything and create everything. Because it always comes down to artistic touch with how something is. If it's not aesthetically pleasing, if it doesn't, if you don't feel it somehow, if someone didn't put their energy into something and truly make it unique and original, then people aren't going to really enjoy it in the end. They might like it for a little bit, but it's not going to be something that sustains them because there wasn't enough thought and energy and feeling put into it. And that's where an artist always comes in. And I really feel that a lot of kids would gravitate towards art for the most part if they were given that free opportunity to do that, just because of the wide expansiveness that you can use. And then all of these other things you use in art because really you get that creative mindset and then you can use the mathematics to do something. You can go and engineer something to a whole new level because you have the creativity plus the engineering mathematics to go and do that. But in school, because of how they go about things, it's very rigid, structured, and it's taught and people build things in a certain way. Look how buildings are right now. All buildings are built the same. They're square boxes right now. If you go and look, there's a bunch of old buildings made of brick and all this masonry stones that are in these very intricate designs and artistic, creative forms that they don't do anymore. It's simply amazing, some of these buildings. And a lot of them are, you can go and look at maybe some of the your courthouses in your libraries. There's a lot of older buildings that these government and even school buildings, some older school buildings, museums, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. It does not have to be around a big city or whatnot. Just go and look, and you can see the difference of when people were more creative and had free reign on their life and existence to do what they desired and wanted to pursue, as opposed to now, which people are much more orientated towards a structured environment, going to school, learning this how it is out of the book, and then going into college, and then even furthering that, and then going straight into your career field and getting plugged into a position that this company is already doing in a certain way. So then it just feeds what's already happening. It doesn't allow for creativity, which what I'm getting at is the best thing to do is homeschool. Homeschool. Mostly because they're going to be with you. That's number one, because they're going to be with you. By far the number one reason. There are many different ways to homeschool. There's many different ways to go about it. Nikki has done a few videos in the past on homeschooling and the things that she does with our children. And you can check those out if you would like, which I'm not going to get into details here, but we don't really do anything structured with our kids. Not at all. We let them pick and choose what they like, and we help them pursue that. Because we don't want to create a box around them. We don't want to in any way structure them to where they can't grow in any direction they want, because our children are trees. And if you're growing a tree and you put a ceiling on the tree, if you just put up some poles and put a board on top of it, that tree will grow out and go around and then come back. It will grow around that board. If you put it in an enclosure, it's not going to grow out of the enclosure. It's going to stay in that enclosure. Even if it has the potential to grow bigger, it won't, because it has hit its ceiling. It has hit its box that it's in. And it just can't get out of it unless it breaks it down. But our children are the same. If we put blocks in front of them, they will go with that block and move past it, but they're going to have that block in them. Like, it's going to be a part of them. And that's not how we personally want to raise our children. But like I said, there's different ways to go about this. There are definitely homeschool curriculums you can do. There's nature-based ones fully. There's ones where you can get more of a structured, normalized school system learning from it. There's different ways to do it. It's however you feel comfortable doing it for your child. There's no right or wrong necessarily to go about it. The best thing, like I said, though, is that child is with you at home and not with someone else, because that is going to give them the security that they need and yearn for when they're away from you, and is going to allow them to become an individual much quicker instead of having to figure it out on their own. That's like getting dropped in the middle of a whole other country, a whole other land you've never been in. You're going to be confused. You're not going to know what to do necessarily, but you're going to figure it out. It's just going to be more difficult being dropped somewhere in an unfamiliar environment than being able to have predisposed knowledge of where you're going, what you actually would like to do there, and why you're going there. What's your purpose of it? What's your intention? It creates a much different environment. It creates a much more secure environment, which allows for much more growth for our children and for us. Because we grow through our children, and vice versa. A lot of us. And our children being away from us so much is not healthy for us either, as parents. We want to be with our children. Absolutely. We just are doing what we feel is best for our children as well at this point. And that's why you can't beat yourself up. Because as a parent, we're all trying to do the best, no matter what it is. Some of us ignore more things than others. And that's why you can't ever judge a parent and what they're doing. Because when it comes down to it, every parent is trying to do what's best for their kids. And we're all at different stages and different levels and have come to different understanding of things and how we go about things. And we can't beat ourselves up for coming to a new truth or understanding of how we can do something different. And that's why I'm saying that we can't beat ourselves up for being in the situation that we are currently, whatever it may be. If you're working, you're a single parent, and you can't actually be with them during the day at this point, you can't beat yourself up for that, because you're doing what you feel is the best for them in the end anyways, because there's still other things that need to be taken care of in the society, in the system that we are currently in. But at the same time, we can make conscious choices to begin changing that, to begin maneuvering into a new situation where we can actually be exactly where we want to be. But to do that efficiently, we can't beat ourselves up. We just have to start making the choices to change where we see fit, where we can at the moment. If we try to get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to get anxious. If we feel that we're behind, we're going to get depressed. So we just have to be here, where we are, whatever it is that we're doing. What choice do I have right now? Where can I go right now? If you're a single parent and you want to be home with your child, well, figure out what you can do first and still be with your child all the time. Maybe there's actually some type of career you can pursue where you can do that. Of course there is. There's different ways you can go about it. There's different agencies, they'll let you work from home. That's still better than being with your child, or being without your child all day. It's still not optimal, but it's better, absolutely. Um, Maybe what are you good at? How can you make that into your thing? How can you create with that? How can you grow with that yourself, so that then when you have children, or maybe you do now, you can be with them during the day and you actually make your own schedule. That's always the most optimal. What can I do and do for myself where I'm able to be with my child all the time, but still have the things that are a necessity in our life? And this can be a slow moving process. There's no fast or right way to get anywhere. It's being here, making that choice that is going to get you towards the direction that you actually want to move into, not away from it. Because when we get too anxious, we're getting ahead of ourselves and where we actually are, and we just need to slow down and breathe. We have to remember to breathe. If we start falling behind where we think we should be, and feel like we're going too slow with something, we're going to get depressed, like we're behind, we're falling down, we've failed, like we don't know how we're gonna do it. That's not how we have to be. Just be here, be present, and make the choice. Don't beat yourself up ever in any situation. That's the best thing a parent can do, is just be present for their children and confident. And that's really it. That's all I wanted to share in this video. I didn't want to make it too long. If you like this video, absolutely make sure you subscribe to my channel and like this video. And I will throw up the unschooling videos here for you guys to take a look at. And have a wonderful day. Let me know what you would like me to cover in some of these next few videos I'm going to be making.